Alrighty then. Now it's gonna get confusing because we're gonna play the blues, and the blues is by most people seen as the simple version of music. It's theoretically incredibly complicated. If you try to explain the blues, oh my god, it's so complicated. It's not like harmonizing the major scale and now we're on chord 4 and now we're on chord 5 and now we're on chord 1 and they all line up and they all make sense. Because it doesn't make sense in blues, and that's kind of the whole point. So when it first started to evolve, people had shit guitars and difficult to play guitars. High string action, they use a slide, and they'll sing over this chord, and then they go to this, and they sing over that, and then they go back, and then they go here, and then they go here, and then they go here. That's a standard 12-bar blues. So the one chord here, the home chord, remember 4, 5, 1? 4, 5, 1. Five, 4, 1. And they're all dominant 7 chords. And that's why it's so incredibly complicated. Should have been major 7 really if we extend that first chord, and that 4 chord should have been major 7 as well, and then the 5 chord should have been a dominant 7 if we're following the major scale. But if we're not, we're playing blues, so that's a dominant 7, so that's changed. That's a dominant 7, so that's changed. And that E there hasn't changed if we're thinking Roman numerals. We're not, we're thinking blues. So, what happens here then if we just accept that this works? Because clearly it does. The blues works, right? Let's look at this A7 chord here. So that's the difference, right? The G there. Should have been there. But it's not, it's there. We accept this is the home. It doesn't feel like we want to go somewhere else because this is a dominant 7 chord. Because it's a blues, it feels like home. Even though it's a dominant 7, it's supposed to be move on, but it's fine. We can end it there. Yeah? It's actually this note, the third. Because when we go to a D, that's there now, it's a C. So if we had that over A, it would have been a minor. But it's not, it's major, isn't it? So that's the really important change. This third of the one chord, that's the sound of the blues right there. And that's what it is. It's the third that makes the blues. Being major and then being minor makes it all sadder. So that's the sound of the blues. The change between between major and minor. Okay, when we go here, now we're hinting that A is a major 7 again. Now we're hinting that A is an A minor. And then we realize it's actually a dominant 7. So it's that. That's what makes it. So music is not academic, it's practical. So if you read and try to memorize this, you'll never make the blues gig. You gotta play songs and experience the sound of all these different chords and all these different music theory things from songs. So you can you hear that and you go, that's a blues, that's dominant 7 chords moving in 1, 4, 5 in a 12-bar blues kind of manner. And when sometimes you put that in a normal song, very common, like a combination of like blues and that traditional harmony. For example, you could go to dominant 7 there before you go to the like a little variation, spices it up a bit. So think of it as if you're a carpenter. You know, you become a great carpenter by building walls and porches and whatever a carpenter actually does 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. Not by staying at home and practicing hammering and sawing, right? You gotta do it. You gotta be it. So as a guitar player, you gotta get good through playing songs, not from practicing scales and doing ear training tests and reading about it. If you learn 10 blues songs, you'll know, you'll hear, you'll understand, you'll feel what the blues is, which is... And you'll play, you'll sing the melody, and then you'll go, okay, can I play that melody? And you realize that most of the time it's a minor pentatonic over these major chords. Okay? Which doesn't make any sense. It's a minor scale over dominant 7 chords. But that's what the blues is. And we gotta look for the reality and then try to explain it with theory, not the other way around. So you see, you must learn about chord progressions with all its possible variations through playing real songs. It's so important. You can practice scales and chords and maybe even practice progressions by, like, say, play a song in all 12 keys, for example. That's a great idea. And finding them on the neck, you gotta learn the guitar neck and stuff. But you gotta do it in the context of a song, so it remains musical. And one huge part of this understanding is that the blues, the third of that first chord in a blues, seemingly changes to minor, because now it's there, it was there, when the next chord comes along. And that shift is the blues language. Okay, next time we are going to talk about the M chords. And that's kind of an extension of this blues thing. It's when all the major chords, called 1, 4, and 5, become minor temporarily. So we'll talk about that next time. See you then.